It's time for 41 is the Mic, a weekly Chiefs podcast with Nick Jacobs of KSHB 41 and Matt Derrick of Chiefs Digest. 41 is the Mic starts now.
Welcome, everyone, to 41 is the Mic. I am Matt Derrick from Chiefs Digest alongside Stacking Days enthusiast Nick Jacobs from KSHB 41. Nick, Chiefs have been working on improving. That's what you got to do. You got to get better every week, every day. The Chiefs showed improvement this week in a big win, runaway win for the first time in a long time for the Chiefs, 37-20 over the Baltimore Ravens. Nick, there's not a whole lot to critique in this one that's bad.
Well, I mean, coming into the week, a lot of people would ask me whenever I was out at the high school football games on Friday, doing some of that, or for somebody to see me around town or family members, they'll be like, hey, what do you think is going to happen this weekend? I'm like, I don't know what offense is going to show up. Because, I mean, we know what the offense is capable of. We just hadn't seen them be able to consistently put it together. So, I mean, now you have some confidence with what the Chiefs did offensively that, hey, if they can build off this and after what they did with the Giants, build off that, then you got something cooking here. You know, it's not just simmering. It's not just on the stove. It's heating up. So, I mean, being able to have Xavier Worthy back was a big part. We'll get into all that, but I mean, more than anything else, the fact the Chiefs started, and I mean, look, if you count it up here right now, I mean, just alone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Other than one Harrison Butker miss, they would have scored on 8 consecutive drives. That's, I mean, for the Chiefs recently, that's unheard of. So for them to kind of have that level of success, you're hoping that gives the team a lot of confidence. And that really puts them into another stratosphere whenever they go play the Jaguars and really can be the game that truly gets them out of the funk of what they dealt with in that Super Bowl loss.
Yeah, I mean, even though last week was a good week against the Giants and a good win, it wasn't satisfying because, the Giants are a bad team. And yes, the Ravens have a bad record. They're not a bad team. They've got a lot of injuries right now, but it's been a long time since the Chiefs just throttled somebody that they're supposed to throttle. I mean, I would go back. I mean, they didn't really do it last year at all. I mean, you'd probably have to go back to like 2023 and maybe look at, when the last time they scored this many points, they beat the Bears in week 3, 41-10. Mm-hmm. You could easily say it's been 2 years since the Chiefs just went out and absolutely played a game like this.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's one of their most dominant performances, and it reminds guys on this offense, some of them that have never been a part of it, like what the standard can be and what they're capable of. And like you said, the Ravens had a bunch of injuries, so I'm not discounting that with some of what they were able to accomplish. But I mean, if they can do this against the Jaguars and if they can do this against the Lions, then they're always going to give themselves a fighting chance in every single football game, which is the kind of the confidence that had been shattered for a lot of fans and media alike, just because you didn't, the platform, if you want to call it that, felt uneasy. Like you had, up until this point, you had just this concrete foundation that, Chiefs were always going to be in it. Chiefs could always potentially do something. And you just had an uneasy foundation that because of the rain we had this week, equivalent of that, sunk in part of the yard there. And, and that had kind of been how the Chiefs season had been for a lot of people. You just felt like you're on uneasy or uneven ground.
Dale, wins like this start up front. Let's start on the offensive side and with the offensive line, because obviously when we talk about the fact that it's been a long time since the Chiefs have put away an opponent like this, a lot of it stems from the fact that they've had inconsistent line play. And obviously the left tackle situation last couple of years has been an issue. But the last week against the Giants, we started to see Mahomes, I thought, kind of turn the corner in that second half as far as really just putting his trust in the offensive line that they were going to take care of the job and just focusing his eyes downfield and going through his progressions. That seemed like today that's all he did. I mean, he had zero worries about the offensive line and was just going through his protections and putting his eyes downfield.
Yeah, I mean, because like NextGen had the stats tonight that, I mean, all 4 of his touchdowns were with clean pockets, and he's only pressured on 22% of the time. And when you don't have a player the caliber of Madubuike out there who's on IR now, and Broderick Washington who's on IR, and like you're really only having to worry about Kyle Van Noy and maybe if Roquan Smith blitzes. But then when he got hurt, I mean, there really wasn't a lot left to where you're kind of just playing more of a training camp style of the defense is going to give you a look and you're going to attack it. That kind of was what it kind of turned into. And like, I'm not knocking the Chiefs for it because the Chiefs still had to execute it. So I'm just saying, like, you want to see more of these games at this level before you can kind of say that this is what the trend is. But overall, I mean, there's times in the Chiefs past where they wouldn't have executed even if they had every single advantage possible. So the fact that they were able to do that, that's an encouraging sign. I'm sure the coaching staff's happy about that. The roster's happy, but I know there's a lot of guys there in that locker room that are going to be unsatisfied and felt that they left a lot on the table if they have to play that perfect game.
And that's the thing, we've talked about over the, for the years and last year in particular, we talked about Patrick Mahomes playing good games and great games. And typically we were talking about it because he would just put the team on his back and just have a couple of throws here and there that were just absolutely dead perfect. That's what he had to do in order to drag this team to some victories. Today, Nick, this reminded me a lot of the good old days. I mean, this was Patrick Mahomes, 4 touchdown passes, no turnovers. It's been almost 3 years since he's had a game like that, 4 touchdown passes, no interceptions. I mean, this was different than the last couple of seasons. This has looked more like your 2019 to 2022 Patrick Mahomes that was your perennial MVP candidate and just putting up numbers all over the place.
Well, I mean, we'll see what happens if they can stay healthy when Rashee Rice comes back against the Raiders. Like that's whenever you'll still that's whenever you can start to see this. You're really wanting that O-line to develop over the next couple of weeks since the Jaguars and Lions, so that you have that opportunity by the Raiders to where you can really start kind of hitting that stride. And over the weeks ahead, you're really wanting to build up that run game to where if there is a day where the pass rush gets there, the O-line's not having a great day from pass protection or receivers aren't getting open, that you have another thing to lean on. Because like I want you to think of an offense like a Swiss Army knife. The more tools you have on that Swiss Army knife, the tougher it is for a defense to be able to, 1, get a beat on you, or 2, be able to routinely shut down what your strengths are, because you have so many of them. So that's really what a football team's trying to do on a regular basis. So for the Chiefs right now, you've got Thornton, you've got obviously Worthy back. This game was huge, and Kelsey had a solid day. You had at least a run game that at times you could kind of utilize for some parts. Rashard Smith being able to get out there was big, and being able to get him some touches, and hopefully the coaching staff has more confidence in him so they can add him in more and everything. But there's just right now it's just trying to put it together. So you're playing your best ball December, January, and February. But this is to me, this is a buy-in game. This is where the coaching staff that's been preaching to them, hey, just follow this, stay steady, put the work in, and this will be what happens. And this is where Andy Reid, having been in the league as long as he is and has that steady presence, and Steve Spagnuolo, the veteran that he is, being able to adjust the game plan to what fits an opponent, and being able, like this year, I'm wondering here, but this is something I want to say more than anything else. This year showcases how brilliant Steve Spagnuolo is as a defensive coordinator, simply because he is taking away what an offense feels comfortable with, what an offense leans on. He is taking that away, and he is making you try to learn a new way to beat them, just like defenses have done to the Chiefs for years. So, and the Chiefs collectively as a defense don't have all the best pieces right now, but they're able to take away what an opponent wants to do. And that's a tribute to them all buying in and knowing. That's why I asked George Karlaftis what I did and Chris Jones what I did at the presser this week. How much confidence does it give you? And do you kind of marvel sometimes at what Steve Spagnuolo is able to put out there to allow you to evolve and be a Swiss Army knife on that defense and be able to take away what each quarterback or offense wants to do?
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, what the Chiefs have been able to do defensively through the first quarter of the season, and it's hard to believe we're already through a first quarter of the season essentially. That they've been able to adapt to their opponent, and they've been able to do it despite the fact that they've got some injuries in the defensive secondary in particular, and still trying to figure out what they have. I did want to touch on one more thing about the offense before we flip to the other side specifically, and that's, was asked a lot of the questions about do you really think that Xavier Worthy makes that much difference? Rashee Rice missing makes that much difference. Today, Nick, we got the answer to that, and the answer was a pretty emphatic yes. It makes that much of a difference. Through the first 3 games, Hollywood Brown and Tyquan Thornton had 171 yards from scrimmage. Those were the Chiefs' 2 leaders. Xavier had 121 yards today all by himself. And to me, it really illustrated the gap that there is. No knock against those other guys, but there's a gap between Xavier Worthy and the rest of this receiver group. And there's a gap between Rashee Rice and the rest of this receiver group. Now the Chiefs have Xavier back. When they get Rice back, we should see what the true potential of this offense is, because I really think at this point, they got to prove it and they got to do it again, but you could really probably at some point just say the first 3 games of the year didn't matter for this offense. You can just throw them out.
Well, they're still going to matter if they get home field advantage or not. So, you can't throw them out, as fun as that would be. Look, what the first 3 weeks showcased to the Chiefs coaches, or at least you hope so, and a Brett Veach and that scouting department, when they have to play a game within minimal margins and with not having everything at full strength from a receiver perspective, and maybe, and Travis Kelce, who may not be who he was years ago, what do they still have on this roster long term that they need to still be thinking about in the offseason to be able to add on to give themselves additional ways to win? And the answer is still going to be adding to that defensive line, getting that offensive line in sync, getting it to gel, and then also getting yourself a more explosive backfield at running back. Those things in my mind still don't go away because of what happened today. Because if you have all those things, it makes it even better and makes your life even easier. And still, Patrick doesn't have to, at those times when those games come along, have to drag a team across that goal line for a win. So still, if they can have a better pass rush long term, then I think that really adds on to them not having to blitz as much and them really being able to create havoc for a quarterback. And maybe Steve Spagnuolo can do even more crazier things than what he's doing right now. But then also, and let him be a little bit more exotic in what they want to do from a blitzing perspective. I think that rushing offense, if they can add another speed back and start getting Brashard Smith in it more as well, I think we'll be pleasantly surprised at how balanced that football team can be long term with all those.
Yeah, and you mentioned the defense, and that's where I wanted to go next in particular, because there was a lot to like about the front four, and you mentioned blitzing, and the Chiefs still have to do that. And against players like Lamar Jackson, Steve Spagnuolo has never been shy about blitzing. If he has to do it in order to get pressure on the quarterback, he'll do it. Yep. And he's always believed in the philosophy that with Lamar and other quarterbacks like him, but Lamar in particular, you force him to stay in the pocket. You don't let him beat you with his legs. You force him to beat you with his arm. And as you've noted many times, Lamar can't do that. And today was a great example of that, because the Chiefs, I think last I saw, pressure rate on Lamar today was 48%. Did that with some blitzing. They did it every once in a while, just bringing 4 or 5 as well. George Karlaftis had a sack and 4 quarterback hits. Chris Jones had a couple of hits. Jerry Tillery got a sack and had a quarterback hit. Nick Bolton had one of the most important pressures of the game. He's the one that really forced that interception to Leo Chenal. Chiefs got what they wanted to get done with the pass rush today.
Yeah, so with a guy like Lamar, the first thing the Chiefs did a really good job of, and Steve Spagnuolo did, was making Derrick Henry irrelevant in the game. Once you do that and you get yourself a lead to where you really can't run with him and lean on him to be able to kind of keep you within striking distance, you've eliminated a key part of the physicality in the game, and kind of helped yourself from a tackling perspective because you're not taking those body blows from trying to tackle Derrick Henry. So once you eliminate that part of it, then the second phase ends up being with Lamar Jackson. What do you have to do for Lamar to be uncomfortable, to turn him into Derek Carr, which is what the Chiefs did at various points today? And what you do on that front is, obviously the Lions did it to a certain extent. And I mean, the Chiefs have been doing it for years, but you do the contain with the ends. The Chiefs did a great job today of keeping the defensive tackles for the most part at the same level, or even if somebody like Chris Jones went wide on this, or another D tackle went wide or took a different lane, then they had that fill person, whether that's a spy or somebody that was delayed blitzing, to really kind of force him to dictate if he's going to go up and to the right or up and to the left, but he's not going to go wide right or wide left like Patrick Mahomes would on a busted play. So the Chiefs did a good job taking that away. And when a quarterback doesn't have the freedom to choose what they want, they get uncomfortable. And somebody like Lamar, who has the rhythm that he does as a quarterback, really is his own running back and uses that to kind of, as I've talked about over the years on here, every quarterback has something that gets them back to zero and makes them forget about what's happened, and they can get comfortable again. So when you've already taken away Derrick Henry, you've taken away that comfort level. So then he can't play action pass off of it like he really loves to do when he can. And then if you take away his running ability, well, then now you've really made him uncomfortable. And when somebody's blitzing in his face, he will always throw off his back foot and loft it up like Derek Carr would against the Chiefs every single time, like it's a punt, and give a defender enough time to be able to track the ball, get under it, and make a play on it. So for Lamar, he's a great athlete, but the problem he's always had in crunch time situations is he will turn that ball over if the answer is not in front of him. If it's not clear cut, I'm throwing to this tight end, Mark Andrews, or I'm throwing to Isaiah Likely on this crossing route. If it's not open and he can't visibly see it, then he melts down a lot more than he should. And that's why, in my opinion, he's not necessarily at the same level as a Patrick Mahomes or a Josh Allen. And kind of him and Burrow are in another realm of quarterbacks right now, to where they're still great quarterbacks and you'd love to have them on your team. You just got to have the coaching that can really highlight and feature what makes them thrive versus kind of putting them in tough situations as well.
Yeah, and you mentioned that the Chiefs were able to stop Derrick Henry, and to a certain point, I mean, I feel like even the Ravens just stopped Derrick Henry. I get, to a degree, the way that John Harbaugh apparently kind of could explain things after the game in his quotes, that they planned to run the ball, but they just got into situations where they got behind. I mean, that was essentially the same thing that's been happening to the Chiefs as far as being able to do what they want to do offensively at the beginning of the season. The Ravens got behind and they kind of got away from it. Henry, 8 carries, 42 yards. That's over 5 yards a carry. And I mean, in particular, the 4th and short, Nick, 4th and short in your own territory, you're going for it. What on earth are the Ravens of all teams doing throwing the football when you've got Lamar Jackson? I mean, there apparently was no injury with Derrick Henry, but I have no idea what the thought process is that in a situation like that you're not putting the ball into the hands of either Lamar Jackson or Derrick Henry and letting them run.
I don't have an answer for you, Matt, and I'm going to be honest, I don't really remember the play that well anymore.
I mean, it was remarkable to me. I mean, and the Chiefs defense on that particular one, I mean, they came up big because, Lamar went to throw it, ended up basically throwing the ball away on 4th down. I mean, he chucked it just to give themselves a chance, but the ball wasn't catchable. So when your defense is able to put an offense into a position like that, where they basically just give the ball away to you when going forward on a 4th down, and the Chiefs were big on 4th downs today. I mean, they definitely were winning 3rd and 4th down against the Ravens. Yeah. What to you, is maybe the consistent thing about this? Because, the Chiefs defense, Nick, they've played well in certainly 3 games. You might even say, if you want to say that they played well against Chargers too, you could certainly say maybe 4 games, but they've played well in 3 games for sure. What's the consistent thread here? Is there anything? Is it Is it just the adaptability for them to be able to tailor themselves to any offense?
On the Chiefs defensive side, it's Steve like I've already said, Steve Spagnuolo is going to take away what you win with. What makes your quarterback comfortable? And that's what the defense is locked in on. Hey, this is what they're comfortable with. This is where they thrive. We're taking it away. Now, can they find another way to do that? Because they played really passive against the Chargers in week 1 and played off the sticks and never really got physical with Justin Herbert. And they were trying to keep explosive plays from happening, but they were also kind of feeling out the run game and everything. And let's be honest, I mean, they probably should have gone down there a day earlier than what they did travel-wise. Maybe that football game's a little bit different. And maybe the Chargers have 2 losses instead of finally just getting their first against the Giants today. But all of it combined, I think just Steve Spagnuolo, I think that loss and the way he's kind of commented about it from time to time, I think that really stuck with him. And I think that's kind of bothered him, that he maybe felt like he didn't put his team in the best position to win by some of the comments he made the following week at the podium and kind of some of the comments he's made each week since, to where I think he's made it his mission and his defensive coaching staff's mission to make sure that those guys that depend on him never feel like they're in that situation again, and that they're always prepared and that they're always kind of going after what makes the quarterback comfortable and taking that away from them.
One more player I wanted to ask you about on the defensive side, and we talked about him a little bit here and there, but Chris Jones, obviously much been made in the last 36 hours or so about Chris having a family funeral that he traveled to on Saturday, arrived back at Arrowhead literally at 3:00, 25 minutes before kickoff, and goes out and has a Chris Jones kind of game. I mean, he had a tipped pass. He, like I said, he had a couple of quarterback hits. I mean, Chris Jones, if the Chiefs are going to win a game, Chris Jones is usually in the middle of it. And he was in the middle of it again today.
Yeah, I mean, for Chris to have gone through what he did, obviously, with with the sad life event that, all of us have had to deal with at some point, and having to go to a funeral and having to kind of, want to go see family members that are heartbroken or sad, and then, obviously saying goodbye to an aunt like that and going through all that. And obviously I've went through that over a little bit over a month ago in a different capacity, but each time that happens, I think you reflect on life, not only who they were, but who all they impacted, what type of life did they live, and from a mental state, it can, depending on your profession and what the demand of you is, it can be tough to be able to switch back on to who you were before a tragedy or before a heartbreaking moment like that. And for him to be able to kind of put together what he did, and also for all that to align the way that it did, for him to be able to fly from Mississippi, get back to the airport, and then obviously, have the police escort to get to Arrowhead and to go through all that. Probably one was a whirlwind among everything else, but, to put on the performance he did, that he has a way to where he was able to kind of, whether it was honor his aunt or, his family or whatever he did, he was able to kind of turn that into something on the football field that other people mentally may not be able to. And so that's kind of a tribute to his mental toughness in that regard. But also, you just, obviously more than anything else, I mean, you feel bad for him that he's had to go, that he went through that and had to go to that event and everything. But at the same time, it speaks volumes about just what he was able to do on a football field whenever your mind may be elsewhere at various points.
Yeah, no doubt. Obviously a difficult day for Chris Jones to get through, but he did it, and the style in which he does all of this. I mean, he certainly has an ability to sometimes compartmentalize and focus on the game, and he did that again today. What blemish on this game, Nick, and it is one thing obviously that fans have been discussing a lot the last few weeks because Harrison Butker has been in a slump. He missed another kick today, 56 yards wide left. Not an easy kick, but again, these are kicks that Harrison Butker normally makes. He's not perfect from 50 plus, but usually makes enough of them that to miss, a couple, 3 of them in a short period of time, and also a 40-yard miss and the long extra point that he missed last week against the Giants. A lot of concerns have been, obviously that's been the big question we get asked is Harrison Butker broken? Now, Dave Tobe this week said he's going to kick through it. I did talk to Harrison Butker after the game tonight just about what's going on and if there's any issue. And I mean, Harrison acknowledged that, right now that there's probably some kicks that he's trying to hit too hard. And as a result, he's just not getting solid contact. He mentioned that when he has some of these misses, he's mentioned it before, Nick, that, he tries to overkick and will sometimes hit the ground before he hits the ball. He said that definitely happened on the miss against the Giants last week. He was looking forward to looking at the miss from today and saying if he did the same thing, if he just got the ground a little bit before he got the ball. I mean, talking to everybody involved in the process, I mean, they've got complete faith in Harrison Butker, that he's going to figure it out, that he'll kick his way through it. But, Nick, do you have any concerns that this is something that the Chiefs should watch? Because let's face it, there's no solution. I mean, Harrison Butker's got a guaranteed contract through 2026. So the Chiefs aren't going to be looking any other direction than Harrison Butker for the next 2 years.
I mean, like I said last week when people asked about it in the Q&A, I mean, Dave Tobe and him will get it figured out as best they can. And then you'll just go from there because Harrison Butker's made a lot of clutch field goals and made a lot of pressure cooker situations that, that a lot of other kickers would wilt in and that, you wouldn't have as much confidence in. So, I mean, he's built up that cachet. He's built up that trust. And here's the other spoiler alert. If your offense does well inside the red zone and scores 6, then on a regular basis, then the margins get wider in terms of like when you have to work through some of those things. And that goes for the offensive line. It goes for the run game. It goes for Harrison Butker. It can go for some of the other things on the defense. You're trying to create as wide a margins as you can to where the game doesn't hinge on 4 to 5 plays that you either didn't have or didn't execute. And the Chiefs in the past have had those.
Indeed. Before going into this game, Nick, we were talking about the Chiefs could be 1-3. They could be chasing a 4-0 Chargers team in the AFC West. That's not the case. At the end of the day, Chargers are now 3-1. Chiefs are 2-2, just a game out of first place in the AFC West. We'll see how the Denver Broncos do tomorrow night against the Bengals. If they can move to 2-2, Raiders are 1-3. There's one 4-0 team left in the AFC. That's the Buffalo Bills, and the Chiefs will see them later. So if you want to talk about chasing that number 1 seed, you're 2 games behind the Bills, but you can make up that ground. But in the AFC West, it's already getting closer, Nick. So this team, they're not dead by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, it's way too early for me to care right now. Just worry about the Jaguars coming up here, get to 3-2, and then see if we can figure out a way to get to 4-2 against the Lions, and then go from there. But worry about the Jaguars on Monday night next week right now, and then we'll go from there. You got any other thoughts, Matt? I got a couple, but let's see if you got any.
Nope. I was going to ask you that question. What your parting thoughts were for today?
Obviously, tip of the cap to Juwan Taylor for not having any penalties today. Whenever he's had 43 in the past in his time in Kansas City. So for him to not have any penalties, that's whether it's holding or formation or anything of that nature. For him not to have anything, that's pretty big given the kind of the questions that were being asked at the podium on a regular basis to Andy Reid and Andy Heck and to a lot of and Matt Nagy and so on down the road. And then Kingsley Suamataia, according to Next Gen Stats, did not give up a pressure. So for those 2 guys to have that type of accomplishment, that's big on that front and obviously deserves to be recognized. So for both of them, that's big. I know you asked at one point if there's anything I think the Chiefs really need to kind of lock in on here in the weeks ahead. And the biggest thing I think is figuring out their red zone before Rashee Rice comes back. because when Rashee Rice comes back, they have a lot more wiggle room because of how he can maneuver in zones and how he can create stuff. And if you have him, Thornton, and Worthy together, what they'll be able to do from an opportunity perspective, kind of just out of bunch formation, out of trips or whatever they may do with some of the mesh routes and other things of that nature. But what I want to see is the Chiefs in the weeks ahead, and I would love to see it against the Lions if they could figure it out, is being able to run over people inside the 15, because it makes play calling so much more simpler whenever all you got to do is run through somebody's face, as Marshawn Lynch would say, or be able to lean on some people and run them over. If you can do those and have those opportunities, that's really, really, that makes play calling a lot easier, because once you get inside that 15, just how condensed everything is, the zone coverages, and there's a lot you're having to manipulate, from misdirection and maneuvering to really be able to put a defense on their heels or to get them to mess up a coverage or do this and that. There's a lot you're banking on, to where sometimes if you can just say, hey, we got to get 15 yards and punch it in for 6, and you can lean on an offensive line to do that, man, you can hang 40 a game if you can have that mentality and be able to effectively do that.
Yes, indeed. Chiefs offense may not be fixed completely yet, but I think you're feeling better after today about this team going forward. One thing I did want to mention, Nick, that after you mentioned it, I forgot that I did want to say congratulations to Alan Wright, the equipment manager for the last 43 years for the Chiefs, still in charge of everything over in equipment over in for the Chiefs, but inducted into Missouri Sports Hall of Fame. He's going to have to be in the ceremony later this year. An incredible honor. It's great to see an organization like that honor a guy like Alan, because equipment managers do a lot of things that just don't get a lot of love for and don't get recognition. So to see Alan recognized and honored as a Missouri Sports Hall of Famer could not be more deserving. He is great. If all goes well this week, you'll get 2 Q&As, one hopefully with Nick on Tuesday.
We'll find out. No guarantees.
and maybe there'll even be some high V fines. You never know. And then
no
next
guarantees.
week, you are going to have to wait an extra day for 41 is the mic, because we'll have our post-game episode talking about the Chiefs and the Jaguars after the game next Monday night.
You've been listening to 41 is the Mic, presented by KSHB 41, your home of the Chiefs and Chiefs Digest.